Hello, everyone. Wanted to get on here today and address all the talking about AEW online. This is becoming very interesting. I think the biggest reason why it has become so interesting to me is because I'm wondering when and where did we declare as wrestling fans that AEW was telling huge, compelling, drive you in stories that keeps you holding on until season 2. My biggest takeaway from AEW, they base everything off of matches. Their matches sell the show, the pay-per-view, the characters. It sells the gimmicks. It sells everything. Even when AEW first started, I believe 4 or 5 years ago, everything was based off of either a rumor, some tweet, or maybe a video that was online, a speculation of someone saying something. That build a whole entire card. Even the first time they did All In, there was no storylines because there was nowhere to do storylines at versus on the internet or something like that for us Twitter and things like that. But other than that, they didn't have a week-to-week show to book compelling stories and things like that. So when the show was on, it was all about what matches can we put together to give the people who are either watching on television or at home a great show. And that's all to me that it was based off of. Even from that first show, I think the biggest match, I believe 2 matches that were built up, I believe it was Cody and his brother and Jericho and Hangman, if I'm not mistaken. But those matches were built up, maybe little vignettes that were done online or that were done on YouTube and things like that. But when it came to just in-ring action of a promotion just putting on matches, they were very similar to UFC, to where they had a press conference or did an angle and then you get the match. Versus the WWE or NXT, we may start a story in January and finish the story in April. But to me, AEW has had a couple of great stories throughout their run with great storytellers that were in the company. But when we look at the company from where it started to where it is now, there are a lot of people that are not with the company anymore or that are injured. I mean, think about this. Probably the last maybe 7 to 8 months, the company has took a huge left turn. And that's from injuries of talent. That's from talent either not being re-signed or deciding to go somewhere else. That's with retirements and the whole nine. And on top of all those things, you have talent that we just don't know about. Where are they at? Like, where's Powerhouse Hobbs? Where's Warlow? Where's Sammy Guevara? No, these guys were huge parts of the show. Where's Ricky Starks? Are these guys injured or are they just not, wanting to get in right now? I mean, we as fans don't know. We can speculate all day, but does that hurt the company? Of course. And then if you run down the laundry list of injuries of people that are making their way back, but some that are currently injured, these are your top competitors within the company. So how can a company be at its complete best when you have had so much within 8 months that has made the company completely turn so left? And then for everybody to say, well, where's the story? Where's the story? Even if the man, Tony Khan, had stories planned, I'm sure he wasn't able to do them when things changed back in October. When things change with certain ones leaving and with certain ones getting injured, so everything has to be changed on the dime. Then on top of that, to me, when it's not a company that's not even based around stories, but that's what your audience is asking for, what do you do? Because you look at, I believe it was a week ago, you had Roosh versus MJF. Now, they came out and gave their all and tore the house down and literally left it all in the ring. But there was no build-up. There was no story. There was no 3 to 4 weeks leading into it that it was going to hit a high point when they had that show and they had that fight. And when that opened up the show, that they were going to tear everything down. It was just, hey, this guy and this guy would do great in the ring together. Let's put them out there and let them go. Because I think personally, that's why a lot of wrestlers do go to AEW. Because they know they can go out there and put on banging matches. You got some that mic skills may not be too strong. But in AEW, we may do a promo, we may not do a promo. We may do an angle for a match, and we may not do an angle for a match. But the biggest thing that we are basing our company on and our selling of the pay-per-views on is our matches. Because it's one thing that everybody always says after AEW's matches. I mean, pay-per-views rather. Man, they had some great matches. Man, they sure had some great matches. The lead up or the build wasn't that great. But when they got to this pay-per-view, they sure delivered. So when you hear that and see that and then, you know what I'm saying, look at the whole nine of it, it's kind of like, well, that's probably what they really basing their company off of. Just having those banging matches to tear the house down. You know, just putting as many matches as they can, you know what I'm saying, to build up under their company, to help their company reach a higher and a bigger status. But when we get to the point as wrestling fans of comparing them to NXT, comparing them to WWE and thinking that they're going to tell stories like that, that ain't what they do. That is not what they do. So I don't think it's fair to them to be in comparisons of trying to connect the two together because there's something totally, completely different. To me, AEW reminds me of something if UFC was a pro wrestling company. They do an angle, they have a match. They have a press conference, they have a match. They may tweet something out for the internet and out for the online fans to hear, and then they have a match. They get to the match as quickly as possible. There's no build-up like that. Versus WWE, they gonna milk it. They gonna milk the in-ring action. They gonna milk it. They gonna milk it versus AEW comes out spitting. I mean, to me, AEW has never been a thing to where I need to turn the TV up loud, pull my chair close, and pay close attention. With AEW, I can sit back and watch it on mute and just enjoy the matches from what they're showing on the show because I'm taking it for what it is. I'm taking it for all that it is. It's showing me compelling matches. Now, whether those matches keep your attention or not, that's a different story. But as far as what the company is presenting and what the company is doing, they're doing what they said that they was going to do. We're going to come to your town and we're going to put on banging match after banging match. We're going to come to your town and we're going to tear the house down. Now, I got to pull his card. Tony Khan did say in one of those media scrubs that here at AEW, we tell stories. And that's not necessarily true. Because AEW, to me, you know, versus a couple of times, they may have hit or miss with some stories that they try to tell. But for the most part, it's angles. For the most part, it's a setup to say why this guy don't like this guy. And after that setup, that's it. Let's wait until the match. But week in and week out on all three of their shows, there's just matches that they have put together for the crowd to enjoy. They're just matches that they have put together to put on bangers. And that's it and that's all. And I think sometimes if we're looking for something more than what we are currently getting, it's kind of like you're not going to get it because it's not a thing that the company was basing themselves off in the first place. And that's just my opinion. And that's just simply based off of what I have been seeing and what I have been watching over these last 5 years of AEW within existence. Because to me, there ain't no story. It's just matches. And that's it from the way that they first did All Out until now. They're basing the entire company on matches. They're basing the entire pay-per-views on matches. I mean, you think about it now at this point where we're at, AEW is doing Forbidden Door. Even with Forbidden Door, there's no stories, but there's these big names from Japan, there's these big names from AEW, and we're going to put them all together and have matches. Now watch, I can't call it, but after Forbidden Door, everyone going to say what they always say about AEW. Man, the build-up wasn't that good, but they tore the house down with their matches. And my defense, or rather yet AEW's defense, that's what they always do. That's what they always have done. That was a huge reason of why I started watching AEW. Because a lot of the guys I didn't know personally, or I didn't know them as a wrestler anyway. But I watched them and I saw their matches and they began to grow on me. You know, and like I said before, AEW is one of those things where you can just, hey, turn it on. You ain't gotta be sunk in and know what happened last week and know what happened this week. You know what AEW is? It's like an easy to play video game. You can just jump right in and enjoy the action.
Thank you for listening to the I Can't Call It In-Ring Wrestling Podcast with your host TJ, and we'll talk to you on the next one.